and I'll be your co-host for the night. And tonight we're on Second Thought with the good guy in the white hat, William Wagener.
Well, thank you, Cassandra. I must be the guy in the white hat. I must be William because I'm wearing the white hat. And with us tonight is really somebody you should pay a little attention to because he's running for a countywide office that can hold a lot of people accountable if that person in the treasurer's office of the county wants to. Welcome to the show, Mr. Hagan. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, William. It's a pleasure being here.
And on the ballot, you're listed as?
Harry E. Hagan.
Harry Hagan. No middle initial.
Actually, I believe it does have the middle initial.
Does?
Yes.
But you're the only Hagan running for County of Santa Barbara Treasurer, correct?
That's correct, yes.
And there's two other active candidates.
There are two other active candidates. There's actually three other people on the ballot. One person, Polly Holcomb, pulled out about 3 weeks ago and endorsed me.
Polly endorsed you?
Yes. Polly Holcomb endorsed me.
Did that feel good?
You did, yeah, it did.
I bet it did. You don't usually get one of your opposition to endorse you.
Especially while they're on the ballot, yes.
She's still on the ballot. So
yes.
Tell me briefly why people in Santa Barbara County, especially the North County and like Santa Maria and Solvang, Lompoc, which will see this show very soon if they're not watching it live tonight, why should they vote for Mr. Hagan over the other two active candidates?
The reason they should vote for me over the other two active candidates is because I have the experience and the education and the integrity to run this office effectively. It is a very important function, the Treasurer's office, and I have been the Assistant Treasurer, Tax Collector for the past 7 years. I am a certified public accountant. I have been for 18 years, so I understand the checks and balance of a banking industry. And when you're talking about $1 billion that we're managing daily, it's imperative that you use proper controls and you understand the proper Government Accounting Standard Board pronouncements too while you're doing that. And so I understand the services that we provide in that office. It's more than just the Treasury. And I could tell your viewers what the Treasurer Tax Collector's Office does if you'd like me to. Because it's a position that a lot of people just don't know a whole lot about. It's one of those kind of secretive or quiet positions that people vote for once every 4 years, but they really don't have a lot of ideas other than property taxation, what it actually does.
Why do you think there's nobody running for controller, county controller, other than the incumbent?
In my opinion, I believe Bob Geis does a very, very good job. That probably more than anything else is the reason why no one's running against Bob Geis.
Did he do an audit of the county's finances?
There's an outside auditor that does that annually, and I don't know if it's KPMG still or who it is that does the audit, but there's an audit that happens. Bob is in charge of the internal audit functions, so he does business type audits and things of that nature. But as far as the main audit, if you will, the independent audit, that's done by an independent audit firm.
Interesting. What do you think about the county supervisors making edicts that impact your office and giving you direction that doesn't violate state law?
Well, the independence of this office is very important, and that's why it's an elected position. Because if you remember, the Treasury or the Treasurer's office, it manages the money of multiple jurisdictions. We have $1 billion, as I mentioned, but about half that money is schools money from Santa Maria down to Carpinteria. You wouldn't want the Board of Supervisors telling the Treasurer how to manage the money of a separate school board, a separately elected function. Additionally, about 10% of the money is special districts, community service districts, cemetery districts, fire protection districts, and they have their own independently elected boards too. So that's why it's independently elected. The Board of Supervisors has budgetary control over the office though. It will determine the funding level of the office, and to the extent that a service is mandated, such as property taxation or a probate conservatorships or something of that nature, that has to be funded. But as far as non-mandated services, well, that would be under the jurisdiction of the Board of Supervisors, and just like any other project or program, They would prioritize it, and they would determine what's appropriate to fund.
Now, is this county running a deficit?
By law, the county has to have a balanced budget annually. I think what we've all, kind of seen.
So you're saying we have no deficit. The county is flush, even, and there's no deficit. That's what you're telling me, Mr. Hagan.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
As assistant treasurer for how many years?
7.
7 years.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is they have to balance it. Currently, right now, the projected revenues and projected expenditures for the budget year coming up that they will do budget hearings, starting, I believe, June 7th, I think is the first of the budget hearings. I haven't seen the number. I've seen it reported in the papers as about $38 million upside down. Upside down meaning revenues short of the projected expenditures. And that's what the board will have to grapple with.
Okay, now one of your opponents, I won't say which one, has said that the outgoing treasurer that you worked under for 7 years,
okay,
without mentioning the name, I didn't mention the name, has handpicked you and took out papers to run for re-election, but then at the last minute didn't run, as if to hand it over to you as a gift, almost as if she anointed you as her successor, circumventing the electoral process. What would you say to that?
Well, I would say that that's absurd. The current treasurer, she makes up her own mind if she was going to run or not. That's purely up to her. If she was trying to hand something off to me, the process doesn't allow it. The process allows for, if an incumbent doesn't run, there's 5 additional days that the candidate, any candidate, can take out papers and file.
But she did file to run for re-election, did she not?
No, she didn't.
She didn't?
She did not.
Did she take out any papers, give any notice that she might run again?
She took out, I believe, and this would be a question for her, but I believe she took out the in lieu papers, which is a function that you do back in January if you want to avoid
paying the filing fee.
Well, you'd have to get, I think, you get 25 cents per signature, so you'd have to get, 5,000 signatures to do that, which is.
But she took out the papers to do that.
And never returned them.
And never returned them. So that's kind of an indicator that she intended to run again. Wouldn't you agree? She wouldn't have taken those out if she didn't want to give some hint.
I know she was intending to run, and she was, again, that's a question for her, but she was, having difficulty with the decision. I'll just put it that way.
Okay.
So she took them out for the right reasons. And if my opponent says differently, I'm not aware of that, and that'd be something he would probably need to take up with her.
We have a DV cam of one of the 2 other from our prior show where we gave him time. We're going to run that for a few minutes because he raises an issue that I want to ask Mr. Hagan about, but I think it's only fair that Mr. Hagan get to see exactly what the opponent said. So let's run that tape, and we'll be back in 5 minutes to get Mr. Hagan's point of view.
Your salary for the rest of your life.
Wow. Even if you live another 80 years.
Doesn't matter how long you live. Now,
See,
but let me tell you, here's the part
we got to cut that off. That's what's
awful.
causing a $1 billion deficit. Mr. Gardner, we got to cut
William,
that off.
it gets worse. It gets worse.
I'll never get elected saying things like that. There's too many employees.
No, you should say it. We should all say it because I don't think people.
You can't publicly say that and help to win.
Here's what's worse, is some people, they'll work more than 20 years for the county. They might work 30 years. And then the other thing so they would get 2 times 30 would be 60%. And it's based on your highest ending salary, it's based on your highest year. So what happens is people do what's called spiking. They take their accrued vacation, they take their bonuses, they game the overtime, they game the system so that highest year is much higher than what they would normally make. So then when you're talking about 40% or 60% or whatever it is, it's 2% times the number of years you've worked. Okay, when you get to that highest year and you multiply that out, some people are making a lot of money, and it's for the rest of their life. And
so if they game it on that 1 year,
it's called spiking.
Spiking. If they spike it for that year, that they base their retirement
for the rest of their life, no matter how long they live. And on top of that, they get medical. It's not just cash money.
They get
medical, okay?
You dirty dogs!
It's called spiking.
Spiking. If they spike it for that year, that they base their retirement.
For the rest of their life, no matter how long they live.
You dirty dogs!